try an example. And this looks like it's a word problem. So the number of unruly airline passengers per year has increased approximately linearly from 184 passengers in 1996 to 303 passengers in 2004. Let n be the number of unruly passengers in the years that is t years since 1990. Find an equation of a linear model to describe the data. What? Well, you're probably wondering, what did it state? Well, I recommend you read it at least 2 to 3 times whenever you have a word problem. So let's try that again. The number of unruly airline passengers per year has increased approximately linearly from 184 passengers in 1996 to 303 passengers in 2004. Well, so far all we've noticed is that it's talking about passengers and they're unruly. Okay, well, probably being rude or obnoxious in plain, right? So let n be the number of unruly passengers in the years that is t years since 1990. Find an equation of a linear model to describe the data. Okay, so that means we're going to have to do a linear equation. Y equals mx plus v format. Do remember that under y equals mx plus v, we have our slope, which is the m, and our y-intercept portion, which is the v value. So we could always convert it to a full y-intercept of 0, v. And in this case, it's telling us that in 1996, they had 184 unruly passengers. And 2004 had 303 unruly passengers. Okay, but they're also telling us one more piece of information. T years since 1990. Since 1990. That means it started, or they started counting in 1990. That's when they started taking notes, in other words. So we're going to assume that, therefore, this is year 0, or the start. So 1990 to 1996, that means that 6 years have passed. So in the 6th year, they had 184 unruly air passengers. And in 2004, or in other words, the 14th year, they had 303 unruly passengers. So notice that we have a couple coordinates, 6, 8, 184, and 14, 303. And do notice that our years were converted to singular years. So since it started in 1990, we define that as year 0. So that's 0, and then we start counting from there on. So we have 6 and 14 years counted in this case. So let's use a slope formula to find the slope. Keep in mind, it's typically written as m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. You're welcome to keep using that format. But in reality, it just means the y on top of the x for that same coordinate. That is our slope. So slope formula, there it is. It's a fraction sign with a negative on top, negative on the bottom. And we're filling in the values. Let's see. We're going to place the 184 over 6 first. You are welcome to do the 303 over 14 first, and it still should work. So it won't make a huge difference. You may have one last step or one more step, but it will give you the same answer no matter what. So now let's plug in the 303 and 14. Notice the y values go on top of the x values for that same coordinate. So we have 184 over 6, and then 303 over 14 with the negatives in the middle. And now let's subtract. So 184 minus 303 gives us, that'll be a negative, negative 119. And 6 minus 14 will give us negative 8. Okay, and now we can simplify this. Well, we can try to leave it as an exact value. But we're not too critically worried about exact values for this problem, so we'll just get a decimal roundup. So m equals, we got a slope of 14.875 roughly. So that's a great start with a slope of 14.85. So let's plug it into our formula. In the form of y equals mx plus b, we substituted the slope, the m value. So y equals 14.875x plus b. That's all we know so far. Do keep in mind that our slope is our intermediate step solution, so kind of a reference, we'll circle it with a dash line. Okay, so now let's use one of the coordinates. And we could use the 184 and 6 since it's smaller values. Well, it might make our life easier, but you can use the 303 and 14 and it still should work. So plug it in for the y value, 184 equals 14.876 times the x value of 6. The only thing we now don't know is the v value. So let's solve for the v value or the y-intercept. So 14.875 times 6 will give us 89.25 roughly. So 184 equals 89.25 plus v. So now let's solve for the v then. Let's get rid of the 89.25 by subtracting it. Keep in mind, when we get rid of it, we do the opposite. Since it's adding to the v and it's because 89.25 is positive, we're subtracting it. So minus 89.25. So 184 minus 89.25, do keep in mind that 89.25 minus 89.25 will cancel out. But we have 184 minus 89.25 will give us 94.75 as our v-value. Hey, that's great. We now have the y-intercept, or the v-value of it, 94.75. Let's plug it into our formula. So we originally had y equals 14.875x plus v there at the middle. Now plugging in the b value, we finally have a formula, a working formula. So y equals 14.875x plus 94.75. Hey, that's great. But what were we talking about again? So even though we now have a completed formula, well, we were talking about passengers, and this was unruly passengers, and years. So passengers, let's say the reference P, and T for years. Okay, so that means that we want to talk about passengers. Our B value should be 95 because we're talking about people. B value, we're approximately saying it's 95, and the M value, 14.875, it's roughly, we can round it up to 15. So rounding our V value and M value, let's update our formula then to say roughly y equals 15x plus 95. Hey, but what about our variables? Our variables were not y and x. Hey, we did a lot of work, but we could still use our formula. All we have to do is replace the variables to the correct variables. Let's say p equals 15t plus 95. We define p as the variable we needed, and therefore this is our final formula. Hey, watch out for that. Do you notice? Is there anywhere in the question that it states what variable to use?